So you're watching this video and you may be a woman that identifies as an independent woman. Now, depending on who you speak to, that could be viewed in a very great way. Some others, not so much. Either way, as that independent woman or woman that you feel maybe leans towards that, right? You may also be feeling like you're meeting so many men who can't handle that, who are not mature enough for that, who are too insecure to honor and respect that, or even more so, who can't step up in a way that allows you to not always have to walk in your independence. No matter how you feel about it, the reality is that it can create a lot of disconnects in dating and potential relationships, both with the type of men you may find yourself either attracting or even entertaining, as well as just being able to connect with someone that you can truly align with. And though I do believe at the core of being able to be an independent woman, having that skill, that ability, that's a great honorable thing, right? But, you know, I love y'all, all right? And I say it with love. I do see a lot of women getting so consumed by their independent energy that it starts to throw things off a little bit. So I also meet a lot of men who one of the things they complain about is women are so independent. And again, not in a way of I'm mad that they're mad that you can do things for yourself, but understand that relationships thrive on interdependence, not independence. Whether it's the man or the woman, it both have to be able to be interdependent with each other. So with that, I believe there are some, I know for a fact there are some certain patterns that apply to a lot of women. And as you listen to this video, they may apply directly to you. That I believe if we just make a couple tweaks here and there, you're going to start to see things get a lot better. And I'm telling you, men will appreciate these things very much so, downright love them. All right. So let's start with one of the things that is very common is as an independent woman, start to focus more on your character, not your accomplishments. So what do I mean by that? I've had tons of experiences where, let's say I'm speaking to a woman, whether it be a client or at an event or just out and about. And in conversation, they'll say something like, you know, I'm a good woman and I'm having a hard time meeting men, or these men out here are falling short. And I'm like, okay, so what makes you a good woman? Like, what do you consider a good woman? And they'll start off by saying, you know, I have my own house, I make good money, I'm educated, I'm accomplished, all these things. And I have to stop them because I'm like, okay, listen, that's great. I in no way want any woman who has accomplished things, who is educated, and even if you haven't been the most accomplished woman, if that's what you're striving for, right? I am in no way trying to dismiss those things. However, I want you to understand that that isn't what's going to speak to the heart of the type of man that you desire. If you are focused on your accomplishments, then whether you realize it or not, chances are you are going to end up exuding more masculine energy. Again, and it may not be, it's not to say that being a woman who's educated is masculine, right? But when you're in that mode and that's what you place your value on, okay, it is then easy for you to start to come across in that masculine way or to start to carry that energy, because in trying to achieve those things, as if you speak to many women, they'll tell you to get where I got to, I had to be more masculine. That's their perception. Those are their words. Okay. So naturally they become conditioned to that. And now they're carrying that with them more than ever. So now when you put your value on your accomplishments, your education, resources, what tends to happen then is you will either start to attract more or subconsciously end up entertaining guys who They place a higher value on those things because guess what? They don't have them. So basically, when you speak to women who are very accomplished and successful, when they say they're having a hard time meeting men, in many cases, what they're really saying is they're having a hard time meeting desirable men, men that they would actually want to entertain. But the line of good-for-nothing men are lined up around the corner for these women, all right? And some of y'all are experiencing that, where the guys who don't take care of their own business, who don't have much going on, those are the ones who keep coming. Because for those guys, your resources, your accomplishment, he needs that. He needs that stability in his life, okay? And when you're wearing that as your badge of honor, when you're defining your value as such, well, it's almost like a man walking around with chains and flashing money in a nice car. He naturally is going to start to attract more women who only want him for his money, right? Because that's what he's putting out into the world. And if he has not developed his character, even if some come to him with the willingness to like him for more than that, they end up finding like, it's not really working here because he hasn't developed that side of him because he's placed so much focus and energy on what he has. Well, that happens to a lot of women as well. And they start to overlook the character side of things. So I want to encourage you as a woman. Okay, let me also say this before I continue. Another reason why it's important to not focus your value on your accomplishments versus your character is because then when you meet a man who actually is accomplished, and this may not happen to everyone, but it has happened to a lot of women, you start to feel inadequate, some women, because they feel like, well, then what does he need me for? So essentially, if your value is placed in education, money, whatever, having your own house, and you meet a guy who has all that stuff, so to him, that stuff doesn't really mean much. Again, it's nice, but it's not important. He has everything he could ask for in that realm. A lot of women start to question, well, then where's my value here? Because that's what she's placed her value in this whole time. It's easy to feel valuable with the guy who doesn't have nothing. I was going to say bum, forgive me. With the guy who is not where he needs to be in life, okay? It's easy to feel like, oh, okay, I'm needed here. I have great value here. He has to appreciate me. But for that guy that has so much going on for himself, you start to feel like almost out of place. However, if you saw your value and placed your greater value in the person that you are, the character of you as a woman, then you would be able to still see why you are a valued piece to him, why you are still someone that he would want to be with. You wouldn't fight with those insecurities or feelings of inadequacy anymore. Because let me also mention this. I do think there's a lot of men and women that don't understand the value of a good woman in a man's life is beyond the things on the surface that we talk about a lot, all right? So that's why I'm not the biggest fan of the whole what do you bring to the table question. I understand the premise of it, don't like it that much, and I feel like a lot of people weaponize it in a very toxic manner, okay? But I think people overlook there's a very real spiritual, mental, energetic, even biological benefit to being with a good woman that loves that man and that man loves her. And just to give you one small example, right? There's a study that shows if a man speaks to a woman he's attracted to for at least 7 minutes, I believe it's 7 minutes, his testosterone can go up 14%, okay? So on a biological level, without us even knowing it, that interaction, just on attraction alone, has a very positive effect because testosterone is very good for a man, all right? But let's go further than that. He's with a woman that pours into him, loves him, he can be himself with all these things. That's going to help lower his stress, all right? As long as there's not other stressful things going on in the relationship, that lowers his stress. That lowered stress also will help with the testosterone. Helps with the overall health. It's going to allow him to show up in life at a higher, more positive level. Like it goes so much deeper than, well, this person can do this, or this person has this thing, or whatever the case may be, or can help me with the bills. I know a lot of people focus on stuff like that, but it goes so much further than that. So ultimately, what I want women to understand is your value starts with who you are. That's really what I'm trying to get across. Your value starts with who you are as a woman and the spirit, energy that you bring to a relationship and household. We start there. Again, it doesn't mean you can't do wonderful, amazing things. Some of you are naturally very ambitious, and if that speaks to your heart, do your thing. But just don't make the mistake of placing more value on your accomplishments versus your character. So one thing I want you to be mindful of before I get to the next point is, if you are ever asked the question of what makes you a good woman or anything of that nature, be conscious of starting with the character. All right? Be conscious of being able to say, I'm loving, I know how to, pour into, whatever the case may be. I'm funny, I can laugh at things, whatever. Focus on your character. Now, moment of truth here. Some of you, as I gave the example with the man who shows off his money but hasn't developed his character, some of you may have an underdeveloped character. The potential of who you are is amazing, but you haven't fully tapped into it yet. And so maybe being able to speak highly of it is difficult because you have not poured more into that aspect of you. If that's the case, fine. Let's start doing the work. Let's work on those aspects of ourselves. If we're not the most loving person, right? Let's work on, let's identify why, and let's work on that. If we don't know how to create a more peaceful environment, which I always say, you got to start with the peace within yourself and the peace for you, which then makes it easy to bring peace to other environments. Well, then let's work on that. But don't overlook the need to make your character a priority. All right, so you saw I had a lot to say for that first one. All right, you saw how serious I am about it. But let's keep this going. Another key to dating as an independent woman that men would love is let him be chivalrous, even encourage it, and then show appreciation for it. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, some of these men just ain't chivalrous. Like, what are we supposed to do? Okay, one, this is why, I should stress good men, and I should stress a man who is genuine about trying to be with you. Now, I understand and I will acknowledge there's a lot of men who have forgotten or never learned how to be chivalrous, right? Doing things like opening the door and, putting you on the inside of the sidewalk and all these different things, which I do encourage men to do. However, I do believe that if you make it known that those things are something that you like, and he's genuine about being with you, he will have no problem doing it. All right. In the vast majority of cases, exceptions to every rule, but the vast majority of cases, he will have no problem doing it. And understand that a lot of men have stopped because a lot of women don't show appreciation or don't express a value of those actions. All right. So men start to feel like, what's the point? Now, yes, there are some men. I'm one of those guys who, whether you show appreciation or not, I'm going to do chivalrous things. I'm just wired that way at this point. I've been doing it for so long. I'll do it for random strangers. I'll open anyone's door. Like, that's just me. Okay. But everyone has not been conditioned in that way, but they can get there. They can get there. So one, it's letting it be known, if he's not already engaging in those things, that you like chivalry, right? And then it's showing appreciation. Now, quickly, one of the reasons why it's important and it's a key for an independent woman to basically encourage chivalry within your partner is because that starts to activate things in that man if he is capable and if he is serious about you. It starts to let him see that, okay, he can pour into you in this way. So essentially what happens with a lot of women who are independent is naturally you become so accustomed to doing things yourself. And because of that, when people offer, you shut them down. Like, when I say shut them down, it's like, oh, I'm good, I'm fine. Like, it's not even like you're maliciously trying to do that. It's just how you've been so used to doing it yourself. And unfortunately, when you're dating men, if you're dating a man who even is willing or capable of pouring into you, that then starts to shut off, or it sends the signal to him that you don't care or value these things. They're not important to you. So naturally, a lot of men will stop doing it, because to a lot of men, if this thing is not valued, if this thing is not going to be appreciated, what's the point in his mind, right? And he's not going to think it's a big deal. And you'll have a situation. So I'll just use a simple example. I've used it before. Let's say you're dating someone and you go buy groceries, and then you're coming home with the groceries, and he's like, let me get the bags for you. And you're like, no, I'm good, I'm fine. Let's say second time that happens, let me get the bags for you. No, I'm good, I'm fine. By the third time, he's going to stop asking, because you always tell him, no, you're good, you're fine. And now he might think like, okay, I don't want her to get mad, because whether you realize it or not, there are some men who have had situations when in trying to do something for that woman, she's like, dang, I told you I got it. Like, she'll start to catch an attitude or be annoyed by his attempts to do something. That may sound foreign to you, but it does happen. And so, unfortunately, if a man has experienced that, he may not be fully aware of how to navigate the next situation he's in, okay? Because he's allowed that to fool him into thinking now this is a bad thing to do, rather than, no, there was a disconnect with that specific individual. Doesn't mean your action needs to be changed, or your attempt to act on these things needs to be changed. Either way, by inviting more chivalry, it starts to show you're open and receptive to receiving. And that's really important. And that's something that I know a lot of independent women struggle with. So practicing that with just even chivalry as a starting point, I believe is a really good thing to help you become more comfortable in that mode, and also let him know this is the kind of dynamic you want with him. But then we have to go one step further, because like I said, it's let him be chivalrous, but then show appreciation for it. Because again, if it's not communicated to him that this is of value and appreciated by you, he will start to think there's no point. So you want to make sure you let him know, I appreciate that. It doesn't have to be every single last moment that he does it. You have to do something right then. But in general, remember to say, I really love how you open doors for me. I appreciate this. Or even in that moment, thank you, baby. Boom, boom, boom. Things like that are going to fuel him to want to do more. I always say appreciation breeds production. Okay? So you want to create that dynamic. You want to be mindful of it. And you really want to get yourself in the mode of being able to receive from that man. All right. So here's another key as an independent woman, or dating as an independent woman, that men will love, is, and this is going to be a tough pill for some of y'all to swallow, so hear me out. Practice asking. Let me explain. Now, before I get into practice asking, let me say this to kind of piggyback off the last point. I mentioned how as a lot of independent women, it becomes very easy to become so conditioned by always doing stuff yourself, you may not even realize how much you shut down people offering to do for you, okay? And for many independent women, it extends beyond just in the dating realm, because even with family and friends, you're the one that's always like, I got it, I'm good. To the point where it creates this environment for many where you become the strong one that people don't think they have to check on anymore. Or people don't think they have to offer help anymore, because they become conditioned to you saying, I got it, I'm fine, I'll be okay. And not realizing, no, you're tired too. You need help too. You have your moments too. But part of that is, and you start to believe that you have no one that you can go to for help, rather than not realizing, well, maybe you've been shutting them down for so long, you've created that image of yourself, okay? And that's one of the reasons why I'm encouraging you to not fall into that trap, because it can create more burden in your life. So this goes beyond just dating and what men will love and appreciate. It's about improving your overall quality of life by not allowing that independent mindset to consume you to the point that you're blocking your ability to receive from people in general around you. Now, this specific point right now is about practice asking. And I'm going to give you a quick example or story as to why I bring this up. I've had many situations with clients and people in general. Well, they'll give me a story where it's like, I talked about like how a man, if he really is into you, he wants to do for you. He wants to pour into you. And they'll tell me like, yeah, the other day I took my cars to get the brakes changed. And then I told my boyfriend and he was like, man, why didn't you tell me? I would have took care of that for you. And he was kind of like bothered, like, yo, let me do these things for you. And this has happened so much, but for a lot of women, it's especially specifically a woman who identifies as an independent woman, it's hard enough to receive. It's even harder to ask. like I know y'all feel me. It's so much harder because one, you may be just accustomed to people constantly letting you down, not being there for you. Again, doing it yourself anyway. Or even not wanting to, this is how some people feel, not wanting to appear as needy or weak or incapable and all these things. And so it blocks your ability to just ask, even in moments that you really could use that help. You really could use that assistance. So the only way to stop that from happening and understand that when you're unable to ask and you're dealing with a good man who's genuine about trying to be with you, again, all those things and not being able to receive, it blocks the flow of love because that man being able to pour into you is him being able to express love, appreciation, all those things. And it's also him wanting to show his value to in your life. Him wanting to show you, hey, I'm here to help you with some of your burdens. I'm here to make life a little bit easier for you. I want to do that for you because I care about you in that way. But when you don't ask nor allow yourself to receive, you're not letting him love you essentially, okay? So I say practice asking because again, I know it's going to be hard to go from someone who never asked anyone to asking for big stuff. So it's like little things that you ask, hey, can you do this for me? Can you take care? Especially if it's things like the car situation, because I probably hear that one as an example the most, right? Now, I know some of y'all might say, well, I asked my guy to take care of my car. He never did. Right? I'm sorry to hear that. And I understand not everybody shows up the way that they need to when you finally do ask. But I always say, don't think the action is wrong. Start to evaluate the person. So if he's not stepping up when you do ask, don't think, oh, I'm just not going to ask anymore. Start to think, am I asking the right person? Like there's a great quote, you're not asking for too much, you're just asking the wrong person for it. Okay, so you have to start to look at it and be like, okay, wait a minute. Is this showing me that maybe we aren't on the same page? Maybe we're not the best fit. And I'm not saying it just stops at that one thing he didn't do in that moment, but that might be what helps you evaluate the overall situation because sometimes there were red flags otherwise that's been slapping you in the face, but you kind of been like ignoring it and trying to move past it. And now this moment might help you take a step back and now see the full landscape and be like, wait a minute, this is a symptom of a larger problem. Now, if you step back and you realize, man, this man's been perfect, but for whatever reason, he just didn't do this thing, then that's different. You got to keep it all in full context and look at the big picture. But for many, it's going to be that signal of, okay, maybe you're dealing with a dude who's not serious about pouring into you, okay? But And that's actually why, one of the other reasons why practicing asking is to me a good thing too, because it does help you see a little bit more who's there to love you versus who's there to use you. If you are with a man you can never ask for nothing, that's a problem. I want to say 99%, I hate throwing out numbers, but 99% chance he's just there to use you. If you can't ask him for nothing, if you like you can't go to this man for anything, that is a problem. But if he loves you, he's going to look to do things. As long as he's capable. It's one thing if you're asking for things that are just a full inconvenience to him, he's just unable to, versus no, he's fully able to and he has no problem doing it because he loves you. So practice asking. That's definitely going to enhance your dating experiences. All right, so before I continue real quick, I want you to join my special club that sends you inspirational messages and videos, just want to pour positivity, love, and happiness into your life, go to messages from Stephan. Why am I forgetting my link right now? It's either messages from or by. Either way, you're going to see the link below in the comment section or in the description, and just click on that. It's only $5 a month, and know that a portion of the proceeds will go to my Healing Generations Foundation that looks to provide basically more counseling and therapy and various other resources to individuals in need, really looking to impact communities with this program, with this nonprofit. So again, click the link in the description or in the comment section. All right, so a couple more keys for y'all for the independent woman to improve her dating that men would love is make sure you've made time to heal. You know, I can't go the whole video without mentioning some healing. You know, if you watch enough of my stuff, you know I'm big on that. To me, that's the number one thing that this world needs is more healing. And what I can tell you in my experiences coaching tons of women and men throughout all these years is that at the root of a lot of women who become consumed, and that's the key word, become very consumed by their independence, that it defines them, and that's what they're constantly walking in. There's usually some kind of hurt, disappointment that has been lingering in them that fuels why they feel like I have to be this independent woman. It's almost acts as a defense mechanism. I do not want to be vulnerable to where I have to rely on anyone to do anything for me. I will do it myself because too many people have hurt me and let me down. Now, is that everyone's story? No. But it tends to apply to a lot of women. Either way, even if that's not the case, most people, the majority of people have something they need to heal from. And I do believe that you can heal 100%. I know some people disagree with that. I think they're not looking at it the right way, all right? We have to learn how to identify, acknowledge, and release the pain, the hurt, the disappointment we've experienced. A lot of people learn how to manage those things, how to cope with those things or function with those things, but they haven't released those things. And so not only does it come out as this defense mechanism for a woman, for many women, it can come out as this negative energy, whether some even realize it or not. It's like this stress and tension that a woman's holding on to. And understand, even the whole carrying a lot of masculine energy for a woman, for the majority of women, I believe, it's stress on the body, all right? And it starts to wreak havoc even in ways that you may not be fully aware of. It starts to affect your health. Because understand this, the body, and I'm no doctor, but the body knows stress. The body doesn't know workout stress versus your child is making you mad stress versus your partner did something. No, the body just knows stress. And stress is the number one inducer of disease to my understanding. It is what triggers a lot of ailments in someone. So a lot of people have emotional stress they have not released. And that starts to deteriorate their body and start to cause all kinds of problems. So with all that said, take time to heal. I have the book Love After Heartbreak. You can check that out. Or just get a therapist, get a coach. I just want you to get help from someone. I don't care if you come to me, to someone else. As long as you get the help you need, that's all that matters. For some of you who are like, well, I ain't got no issues. It's these men. I was going to use a different word, but these men who got the issues. All right, we are in agreement that there is tons of men who need to heal themselves. You can't focus on what you can't control. And even if you believe you are completely okay, there's nothing wrong with going in for a checkup. All right. Like a lot of people swore there was nothing wrong with them physically from a health standpoint. They go in for a checkup and find out there's actually something there. So you may feel like, nah, I'm good emotionally, right? I've healed. I'm fine. But if you actually just went for that checkup, you'd be like, oh, wait a minute. There is some stuff there. So we want to make sure we do that work. We get that stuff out. and you will start to see a significant difference in your life and in your relationship. All right, so another key to dating as an independent woman that a lot of men would love, and this one can be a little tricky, so I'm going to try to make sure I break this down correctly, is learn how to be more flexible and just let go. Now, I didn't want to say go with the flow because if you read some of my books before, like, I don't like the whole go with the flow mantra when it comes to dating, because it leads to a lot of people engaging in things they shouldn't, entertaining men that they shouldn't. It's a line that maybe a lot of men who aren't serious about you may use, right? So I don't want to use go with the flow. But I do think I have found that a lot of independent women, because again, consider the fact that, and if you're one who identifies as an independent woman, you'll be able to understand this. If you're already a woman that's essentially doing it all herself, you're naturally carrying a lot of tension, stress from everything that you have to deal with, right? And so that can make you a little more tense. That can also make you a little bit more rigid a lot of times. And so that can come across both in your spirit and in just the way you go about things. It has to be very boom, boom. Now, this doesn't apply to everybody, but that happens to many of you. So now you don't realize how you're coming across so rigid and tense when you're on dates or when you're in a relationship with a man. So I'm not saying let go as in just let it be whatever it is and you know, let the man just take you wherever he wants to take you, or however you want to phrase it. I am saying, like, release that tension, relax, be a little bit more flexible within reason. Okay, within reason. Nothing crazy, nothing that's going to put you in a bad situation, but let yourself breathe. Let yourself live. You know what I'm saying? Try to regulate that stress. Try not to overanalyze and overthink. I think you spend so much time having to use so much mental power on all the different things you got to handle and deal with. And then you're on this date and it's like all this stuff is still in your head. And it's like, no, this is your chance to just let that be free. Enjoy the date. Enjoy the moment. Or if you're already in a relationship, enjoy the moment with your partner. And try to just relax. That's what I mean by letting it go. Being more flexible. Everything doesn't have to be specifically within this structure. Again, there's going to be certain things that you just need to apply that rigidness to it. That's understandable. But I want to say check yourself when it comes to those things. You know, and of course, if you're already dealing with somebody, discuss that with them if there's a little something that you need to loosen up with. Or even when it comes to your sense of humor, sometimes some of y'all are dealing with so much, you don't know how to laugh anymore. Like you struggle with being lighthearted, right? And again, that can create kind of a negative energy when people interact with you. So learn to just laugh and just not take things personal and all these different things. And that's going to help make things so much better for you, for your dating experiences, for your relationship, for your marriage one day, for whatever it is that you truly desire and God has waiting for you. Hey, thank you for watching this video. I pray it was helpful to you. Be sure to watch this one over here on 7 things men notice first in a woman. What they see is what is physically appealing to them, right? Or what they view as a target for whatever reason, and they want to go after it. All right, and they're not deterred by your lack of a smile.